Hey everyone, what's going on? This is Rus from Pale Rider. Check out our new LP 1 to 0 that just got released on Coming Home Records, pink limited vinyl. Go get it now. Links are down below. And you are listening to John the Ninja.
Cool. Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's John the Ninja, and I got a beautiful Friday. Oh, I can't tell you where I'm at, but I know where this gentleman is at. Is a beautiful sunny day in California. Right now, I have someone that has just a leading genius mindset. The way he creates music, I would dare say rivals some of the great, not just contemporaries, but we're talking alt rock and punk. I'm gonna say he gives 30 Seconds to Mars a run for their money, even the Cure. And I'm not talking early Cure, I'm talking the Cure. So, ladies and gentlemen, the man I have and speak of is Rus Martin of Pale Rider. Initially a solo collaboration, Rus created Pale Rider and released Two Is One in 2022, but then said, you know what, I want to add a little extra salt with this. So he got his friends to join. And let me tell you, he's got a mind-boggling set of gentlemen that he's been not only friends with some over 27 years, but actually absolutely genuine talent that knows not only what they're doing, but can put that feeling in the essence. The gentlemen that have joined Pale Rider are John Santana, Joe Ramos, and Thomas Kraus. Pale Rider is an avant-garde musical group from Redlands, California, blending the atmospheric layers and harmonic post-punk to create a sound that balances an introspective and raw emotion. When I tell you, no matter what you're listening to, you're gonna have a memory that pops up, whether it was about that lost love, whether it was about the love that you got, or maybe a situation that you should have powered through and you always thought about it afterwards. But their name symbolizes the universal journey of life. The rider embodies our shared experiences of love, loss, and unknown, while pale signifies a return to the authentic belief of life complications that alter us. Their latest album, dropping February 28th, is 1 to 0 and explores the journey of love from unity to solitude, record remotely. They recorded it remotely with no one even being in the same room. And when I'm telling you, it's a powerhouse, it is a powerhouse. Here to talk about the latest album and its single, which is beautiful, Swoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the genius. That's your new nickname from now on. That's how people need to refer to you. Rus Martin. Good sir, how you doing, man?
Good, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I was just telling you, I'm sorry. This is why I'm flustered, man. You got that vibe, man. You got the Cali vibe going. You had the screen, you got the look. Man, I don't know what it is about it, but out there, I did want to ask, are you guys okay? Did everything go all right with the fires for you and your family? Because even if it wasn't even near you, it's still your state. It still affects you. I don't think
Yeah.
people understand when things like that happen, how hurtful it can be for a community.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I wasn't directly affected, but I have friends, and we all have friends that lost houses and were displaced. So, they're just trying to rebuild after such a loss. I could only imagine. So, we've done our part helping them out and extending any sort of um, resource that we have that they could take advantage of and stuff like that. But yeah, most we got was just like bad air quality um and the such. So yeah, we didn't get as much as some of our friends did. So
But the one thing I did appreciate is the music community really came together quickly. And they even
yeah,
hotline and everybody was donating left and right.
yeah,
Even with tragedies like that, people kind of figure like, hey, you know what? This ain't the time to question why, it's the time to act. And I really
yeah,
appreciated that for the music
yeah.
community in Cali.
Certainly, certainly. Yeah. It just kind of goes to show that um, you know, during a time that I don't know how a lot of other people are feeling and stuff like that, but during a time of such sort of, it feels like a lot of unrest and such, but during a time such as this, when events like this happen, we really actually get to see the backbone of humanity come out, which is just a great thing to see. We're still there.
Of course, we're here to talk about the music. I had to specify something. You had a post on your Instagram and it said where it all began. And it was street life balancing, soul, and focus at the Paradise Bay. I'm messing up everybody's name. It was an interesting poster, but it was Lifetime. I don't know if it was
Oh,
Lifetime Strife or if it
oh
was
yeah,
Strife and Lifetime and then balancing
yeah.
and then focus. But you said that started everything. I wanted to know What brought you to the show? What was that show about? Because we all have those moments where something started. For me, I think probably the most impactful thing was hearing AC/DC on Tony Hawk Pro Skater. And then that just,
That's funny. That's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, that was the beginning of my sort of straight edge hardcore, you know, opening up into that sort of world of music. And the great thing was is that I was so close to some of the bands at that time, and still are, um, that were sort of heading up our own sort of straight edge community, which was like Strife and um, they had, friends from, like the OC, which was like Mean Season, Unbroken, and then of course across, the nation, which was, New Jersey, New York, which Lifetime was from New Jersey, and on that show, Focused was from OC, Ice was from OC, Bouncing Souls from Jersey. Yeah, so it was great, man. I was super young, think probably maybe 14 at the time, and I worked on a golf range, which was my first job ever, picking up golf balls in a really beat up old 68 V-dub bug with it looked like something out of a Mad Max movie because it had like welded on like fencing around the windows so you wouldn't get hit by golf balls and stuff like that. It was just spray painted black. Um, yeah, so I had a bunch of where I met, how I got to that show was because there was a colleague of mine at the golf course had on this shirt and it looked like a punk shirt. And I knew what punk was at that time because I liked Dead Kennedys and, that whole look. It, you can recognize it when you're you just know like, oh, that's got to be a band. And so I asked him, hey, what band is that? And he just told, oh, it's Hardcore Straight Edge. And I'm like, oh, what is that? And then he made me a couple mixtapes and I would listen to him out in the driving out in the car there. And he eventually said, hey, I'm going to a show. I'm friends with some of the guys that are on those tapes. You want to go watch them play? I'm like, oh my, yeah. What? And it's in Simi Valley, which was super close to us. I was in Newbury Park at the time. So it's just a hop skip of about 20 minutes. And so yeah, I went and it just changed my life. That was it. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be one of those guys jumping around on stage and people were singing into the mic, like just like grabbing the mic and singing the lyrics. And like I'd never seen anything like that before in my life. Well, actually, that's not true. I used to watch Minor Threat, Dead Kennedys videos on VHS and they would do that. But to actually see it in real life was just mind blowing. So it was super cool.
so you know what was the first music that you got a hold of? Because you're multi-talented as far as being able to play all these other instruments, but you have such a range. Like you mentioned the punk movement, we got Black Flag, we got Spaz, the Beach Boys. These are some of
Yeah.
your influences that you've mentioned. What was your first interaction with music? Was it the punk music scene? Because you dive into everything else.
Let's see. It was okay. So I have two stories on this. And I think my first show ever, the first time I saw a live performance of music, which was not like, you know, seeing like church service people singing, was it was Huey Lewis in the News and Queensrÿche. Yeah. And so those were my first two shows ever as a kid, young kid. And just like the Queensrÿche show was incredible because it was in I lived next door to these guys that toured with Def Leppard and Ozzy Osbourne, and yeah, it was just weird because it's like, oh my gosh, there's these rocker guys in this suburban protected area, like, but we were skaters at the time, so it was kind of interesting to us, but our parents was like, don't go knock on their door. And of course we did, during Halloween. Are you guys Def Leppard? So we got friends with them and they gave us tickets on the floor to go see Queensrÿche, and we actually went with one of their wives took us, and our parents were like, okay, you guys can go, which was amazing. But it was just arena rock stuff, and just like they had like video stuff going, and the stage was all set. There was smoke. It was quite an experience, but I don't think it didn't really like push me to want to be a musician. when I saw that, it was just crazy that I was actually there and seeing like a show like that.
And one thing you did mention that I did want to bring up later, because you know Jim Bates, I think he's pro, but I knew he
Yeah,
was a skater. And I was like, you know what? That scene was so connected too. I wanted to know if you
yeah.
knew Maurier, or if you knew any of the other legends, if you got to meet Peralta, how far did you get in skating? Because you know what? I just recently did a grind. The love I have for skating is so deep.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know what your experience was like that too, because you grew up during the time like the polyurethane wheels was becoming a thing. They had to adapt the boards finally.
I grew up in the early to late 80s of skating, and then into the early 90s. And it was cool because, yeah, those two things, those two scenes just interact with each other so much. Like you go skating and someone has a Walkman and they say, hey, take a listen to this. So you're taking a break from skating and listening to music, and you're like, this is rad. Like that's how I found the Misfits at such a, during that time. And DRI and just thrash punk and just like all these like bands. And then you would just, what you'd want to do is get a boombox and then be able to play that music while you skated, so you didn't have to listen and have a clunky Walkman on and such. So that was yeah, that was cool. And Jim was he went to our high school. We were always friends with him. um he was kind of like a quiet loner kid, but like kind of would always show up. It's like, oh, there's Jim. And yeah, it was rad to be able to meet back up with him in a way and be able to do something creative and cool with both of what we do and he does. But I never got to meet like any pro, any super, pro people that you would see on skate videos and such. However, our friend, and I'm still friends with him today, Eric Pritchard, his stepbrother was Gonz, Mark Gonzalez. So that was super cool. We never got to meet him. I didn't. I think some of my other friends did. But and that was right when slickboard started coming out too, where it was like, the slickboard was the new thing at that age, and it was help you slide better. And it was super, yeah, that was super fun stuff.
Call your friend. I'll be like, yo, I have to meet somebody. Come on, it's been how many years now? Like, bro. But when I first started, because we're skipping a bit, but you had a video with Jim skating to face.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting because a lot of the music, some of the songs are tongue in cheek, like you know exactly what's going to bring up the memory for you. But this one, I was thinking more so of like back in the day when I'm dealing with people, and then their true colors come out, or then it's like, oh, hey, I would have anticipated that from you. Why did you go with skateboarding for that song to represent it? Because skateboarding is kind of one of those things. It's kind of like fighting in martial arts. Your true colors just come out automatically. It's bare bones. So I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting, considering the lyrics for the
Yeah.
song. Man, I'm telling you, the reason I was so excited when Bob said I got to speak with you guys is because of just how artistic you guys are, not just from the music, not just from how you layered it. There's little nuances into the artwork and everything. It's a step above what we initially grew up liking of just like the punk scene and just simple bare bone. People don't know you have your degree in IT. And
Yeah.
I'm also like, you know what? We got a skater, we got a musician, we got a Cali cat. You can't sleep on how brilliant he is. So I always ask people when I find out they do IT, one, can you code as well? I know that's a separate avenue.
Yeah.
Always something that's intertwined when I've worked with it. And then what really made you go, you know what, I want to do IT? Because usually the kids like you that like those things are also like, I know you're a sci-fi fan, man. I gotta ask,
Hey.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Ooh. Gosh. I'm torn because a lot of my friends that I work with are Trekkies.
And you're
Um, yeah, yeah, where I work right now, there's way more Trekkies than there are Star Wars fans. Gosh, I would be remiss to say that I wasn't at heart a Star Wars fans. It's like, who is better, Dodgers or Lakers? Like, who do you like better? If I had to pick, I would have to say Star Wars, but it breaks my heart because there's so much Star Trek stuff that I love as well. But I am not an embedded person into the TV like Next Generation. You couldn't. I know little about Next Gen, so like I know more about Star, so it's yeah, it would have to be that.
That makes me question, did you get to see the Orville? Seth MacFarlane's?
No, I didn't. I haven't seen that show. Yeah,
It's a nice little mix. It's Star Trekky, but he throws in
yeah.
little nuances for
He's
today.
one of those guys. Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
he does it tastefully. It's not just a parody and taking a piss.
And no, I don't code. I got to for the reason why I took an IT for my BA was because I work in digital asset management. So to be able to understand how the conversation would go with an IT professional is why I did that. I didn't do that particularly to become like an IT tech person where I'm, you know, doing site surveys and then, you know, troubleshooting, you know, hardware, software, doing updates. I wanted to understand to be able to have a conversation with them about what I do so I could have so I don't have to have a middleman to be able to tell me, hey, this is what they're doing, this is what they're saying. I know what they're doing and I know what they're saying. That was all. That's why I did that.
I have to hit this quote. This is such a great quote. Altering piles of junk into lasting echoes. On the Instagram page for Pale
Yeah,
Right. And
yeah.
you're the next Confucius, man. That was I don't know why it's so impactful to me, but I read it. I was like, damn, that's a good quote. I need to save that. So before we can touch anything about the music for Pale Rider, I have to know where that came from.
Yeah, it was it was a way to be able to say like you know, when you make music, you're putting your stamp on what you do without any sort of visual. Like, you know, you can make a music video for visuals, but like music is purely sonic. And I like the idea that you take a pile of junk, like a closet, if you will. You take a look at a closet, like a hoarder's closet, and you make something out of it that could potentially go on to resonate with other people who might feel the same way. Like it's kind of a, you know, a kind of a shot across the bow of saying, you know, like regardless, it's still a pile of junk, but it it creates something that might be able to resonate with someone else. Um, and I think that's kind of how I always think about writing too. When I do write stuff, is like it's not going to be good. It's just a pile of junk. You know what I mean? Like it's regardless. It doesn't matter how good I think it is or how bad I think it is, but I tend to think it's more of a pile of junk. So, um, and that stems from the punk attitude, by the way. I think I've always had that sort of attitude where it's crap, but but I can't help myself from not wanting to do it.
How do you overcome that? Because the one thing this band for my career, it's one of those bands I wasn't even like at first worried about. I loved them, they were great, but then all of a sudden they became like such a fixture of my career, and that's typo negative.
Yeah,
And Peter had this thing where it's like it's not good enough, it's not good enough, and
yeah,
it was a cross that every really I would say every musician that truly cares about their craft, they have to get past this. I'm crap, I can't do it, and I want to put it out as the best I can. I don't want to short self myself. It's like perfectionism versus narcissism and
yeah,
negativity. How do you get past that? I got to a point in my career where it was just, yeah, you know what? I'm like a diamond. I only work well under pressure, but that pressure isn't producing. So I was like, you know what? No matter what, I just have to start releasing. And it always seems like the ones I work the hardest on, nobody sees, but I'm so proud of. And then the ones where I'm like, this is cringy as hell, that's when that gets the love and
yeah,
recognition. How do
yeah.
you do that for yourself?
I think I talked about this the other day with one of my friends. He runs this really cool record label called Dune Alter. Um, and we were talking about similar things like this. And I think there's just there's a moment in time where you feel like you could just keep writing and writing and writing. And it doesn't have to be good and it doesn't have to be complete, but you have this you know, people call it you're in the zone and whatnot, and maybe that's what it is. But I always tend to, when those moments come, regardless if it's something that's complete or regardless if it's, sounds like, oh my gosh, it's like I can sometimes hear songs start to end complete in my head before it's even written. And I'll just write the spine of it and come back to it later. And I'll always have that, like, oh yeah, that's right. I wanted to do this. And, oh yeah, that's right. I wanted to have a timpani over there. Let's see what it sounds like. Let's see if it sounds cool. It sounds cool up here. Let's see if it sounds good in here. Um, yeah. So yeah, but it's really interesting, isn't it? How songs are recepted by people. Um, you think one is going to be oh, this is the one, this is great, and it turns out, like, oh, people really liked this one. That's really interesting. It is interesting to see how that turns out.
Everybody has been on this train of understanding that every artist has this antenna, and it's how that antenna works.
Right.
Somebody would hear something, it's like, wait, I had that idea. It's just however people want to say the universe works, But I always find it interesting when I'm hit with inspiration, and it
Yeah,
always sucks. The best stuff that comes to my head either is when it's like I was up all night, finally going to sleep, and then all of a sudden the greatest sounding piece of music hits my head. Oh, it's always a fight to roll out of bed and get
yeah,
to the guitar. And then
yeah.
sometimes there'll be something where it's like you're in the shower, as everybody else says, or if you're just chilling. And I think the best inspiration for me is when I'm just playing and then something just flows out of me.
That's
When
cool.
when do you feel that happens for you? Because the fact that you can do a whole song, I can only do like a piece of music. I'll
Uh-huh.
just get a riff and then I can form the song around it, but that
Cool.
won't come complete in my head. You have a unique
Yeah,
ability.
yeah. I think it just happens. I've done it so much. Like I've been writing since like I was probably 14. I got a bass guitar from that same neighbor that gave me the Queensrÿche tickets. He had a bass, all these guitars up, and I said, "Can I borrow one of those?" Being a kid, right? And so I had a bass guitar, and I would just learn punk songs, like I just would, hear, try to figure it out, right? Like that's how you do it. Because I'm not classically trained. I don't know how to read music. I don't know how to write it. I don't know any of it. I barely know what chords are. I just know it sounds good. So, so yeah, so it just kind of, I think it happens for me. Like I always find myself when I'm driving, like I can hear, I'm thinking about what I just did in the morning. And usually I write in the morning, stuff at night. I tend to turn off. I can hear things still, but I don't take advantage of it. If it's there in the morning, then it was still a good enough idea that it might be something good to try out. But yeah, it's usually when I'm in the car and I'll have my phone with me and I'll use the recorder in there thing, and I'll just like, if it's a beat, I'll play it on my steering wheel, and then if I'm hearing something singing wise too, I'll be singing. So I probably kind of look really silly while I'm driving, but you're in your own little world anyway. So yeah, probably when I'm driving.
Are you a finger man or are you a pick man when it comes to the bass?
I like both. I love see, so the pick is like for those more grindier, um, you know, pick up songs that have, more like a your faces sort of beat, where you need that extra ability to make those quicker hits. Whereas, with the fingers, that's more of your sort of smooth, go along, uh stuff, like I need both when I have a record. I can't have one all the time. I need variety when it comes to that.
Hearing that you started off on bass
Yeah,
really sets the thinking of how, I can hear it in the music now way easier. You can hear the influences, but you always want to get where the artist
yeah,
started. Who would you say is an artist that you really gravitated to? Like I love Iron Maiden. I love
yeah.
Metallica. Everybody knows that. But if I had to like really, say like, hey, this is the guitarist that probably influenced me the most in my playing, I'd have to say it's Metallica. I love
Oh,
AC/DC. I love Iron Maiden. I want to play just
that's
like them.
cool.
It's always Metallica. I'm like, you know what? This is very reminiscent of why I can do this now.
I would say, Klaus from Dead Kennedys was just such a cool bass player. He looked cool. He had great tone. he knew how to hit the tempo changes just so perfectly, and he just had such a great like rhythm to him. You could even see it on some of those live videos that they have. He knows how to hit that stuff. So he was great. I thought he was so super cool. These days, oh, there's so many, but um, I'd have to say, Colin from Radiohead is just such a great bass player. Um, he is not only a bass player, but he carries the vibe and a tempo with the drummer. He is so locked in with that guy, Phil. And it's just so cool to be able to hear how he can create what Johnny and Tom and Ed are doing, because they're so out there. They're all individually just such different individual creators, and for Colin to be able to go, okay, cool, what would I do here? I think he's just great. I think Colin's great.
That's very like Chris from the Muse. He
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
he's
great too.
so good, sir. Let's hop to the first album before we hit the new one because
Sure.
it was 2022. You did it
Yeah.
all yourself, and that
Yep.
that was the time the world was recovering from COVID. And it's really weird to see these kids that were even in it that don't remember what it was like on lockdown, or they don't really remember the severity of the time. And I just remember 2021, 2022 being a recovery of the world trying to get back to normal. So with that and dropping the album, please tell me what your headspace was like then.
Great question. I've never thought about that. I think I've always wanted to do what Pale Rider is doing right now. I've always wanted to do that. I just didn't know how to do it. And I wasn't ready yet as a musician. So it wasn't something that I was able to you know, get into a headspace with. But during that time, so what happened is I wrote a record before Two Is One, which is shelved. Like none of those songs will probably see the light of day. And I worked with a bunch of people on those songs. It went from my own studio to an actual studio, and then it had to get shelved. I just wasn't feeling it. I think I made a couple people upset because they did spend a lot of time on it and effort. But hopefully not. But yeah, so I had to change gears. And then I don't know what song it was on that record that made me go, okay, here it is. I think it was either romantic, or let's see. Yeah, I think it was romantic. I wrote that one, and then I was like, okay, here it is. This is the vibe of this whole record. It's very Sparkle Horse, um, cigarettes after sex. It's very muted, but um, so that was kind of my headspace there, and yeah, I was working from home during that time, and so I had a lot of time to be um, next to my music at that time. It was like I would work, I would have things processing, I wouldn't, I have to wait, when anyway, I don't want to get into too much of what I do, but when you have to wait for things to process. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let's switch computers. Here's my work. Here's my stuff. And so I had a lot of time to be able to facilitate and nurture the sound. And now it just is what it is. But so I think it kind of, it wasn't a blessing because I know it was a weird time for everybody, but I found a positive out of a negative. And yeah, I don't know. It was just the right time, I suppose.
Was there any realizations that you had to be faced with, or anything that kind of helped expand the music? Because the way this album, the new album, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you 100% check it out. It's going to change your life. But the way this hits emotionally, track after track after track, it really helps me do a self-analysis of things I was going through. And it reminds me of things I was going through during the pandemic. It reminds me of a lost love. It reminds me, it was so many things. I was like, you know what? This is a person who is spiritually in tune with who they are now. And I was wondering if you had to go through any brick walls to get there to provide this musically for us.
That's funny you say that, and you noticed something. Yeah, I did. I in June I'll be 4 years sober, and this comes up to that era where I was transitioning from, being an alcoholic to being sober, and it was a weird time because I'd never done it before in my life. It was just not. It just wasn't who I was. But the funny thing was, and what I realize now, that is not who I was, within me. I am not, we are not alcoholics by nature. It's a complete farce. I think alcohol is it's a witchcraft, to be honest. That's why they call it spirits. So I was completely changed my life around, due to my wife. She's a therapist, but I wasn't in practice with her. I found my own spot, and it was just a fantastic thing to be able to look at myself in the mirror and be able to smile, finally. And so I was like, there it is. There we are. There's the light. A lot of prayer too, for sure. And so yeah, it was just this coming of just letting a ghost go that was such a heavy burden, and it wasn't even, it was a blessing for sure. So that transitioned into what some of those lyrics are saying in there. And I also I'm using a theme from that first record, this record, and then the final, well, not final record, but there's a trilogy that I'm doing with this. As you can see, the first record is titled 2 is 1. Second record is titled 1 to 0. The third album will be titled I'll release that later.
Back to typo, Kenny Hickey had a conversation. He says, everybody prays. Guys, if you're dealing with anything, if you're having any struggle of addiction, it's okay to pray to a higher power if you don't believe in it. And it's also okay to just say, I'll do it tomorrow, and talk to somebody about it. It always helps, even if you think it doesn't, even if you fall again. So just keep that in mind, everybody else. Back to the album names. I wanted to know if that was something to do with binary, or if that had a little extra to do with the work with IT. That was my question, if that's why you were layering at those names.
That's funny. Yeah, it's actually the theme is sort of how we traverse this life here. We, and not all of us, but some of us, we're two people at one time, and then we find someone, and that two people becomes one person, and then eventually that one person loses one, and they become 0, and then the other person fades and becomes 0. So it's sort of this theme of the sort of timeline of when we find someone when we find someone we love, and we become one with that person, and then one of those people fades away, we become one person again, and then we fade away, and then the what happens after that is where we are spiritually.
And I want to say it's 7 years together, but I know you got married in 2024 to
Yeah.
And I wanted to know how much, especially now, because I figured with the music, she was doing a lot of healing and helping with the lyrics.
Yeah.
I always marvel at when people find love and they get that feeling. And we're gonna go into Tonight Is Ours, why that hurts me so much. But I wanted to know your experience with her and how that growing was, because now that I know what you told me prior to, it's like, for them to stick it out with us.
Yeah.
Somebody else can just cut and run and are doing it in a day and age that's okay, and it seems to benefit more. I just wanted to hear your story with her and how you guys came together
Oh yeah, for sure. Great. Yeah, she is like the muse of the lyrics. Like the first record is all about her. Um, and then the second record is mused by her because of our relationship, and then how I feel about sort of getting into the story of the theme of the albums, but then also some sort of personal points that she'll be able to she knows. Um, so yeah, she was there 100% for me, and it's just amazing when somebody loves you that much, and they want to see you become the person that you're always meant to be, and be able to explain that to you in ways that you've never heard, and to be able to transition that into creativity, right? And try to do it gracefully, because a lot of people say, like, Lennon told Paul McCartney, like, stop writing silly little love songs. And so he wrote a silly little love song. Um, so a lot of it can be, you try to like I've gone through lyrics where I'm like, oh my gosh, that is okay, that's a little cheesy. How can I say it differently? I got to go back to the drawing board. Um, so you're trying to always try to find ways to, like, not make it so, I don't know, I guess that word, but yeah, she's the inspiration she's given me. It's just it pales in comparison to anything I've ever had inspiration wise previously, which was all like just destruction and chaos and anyways.
Living the rock and roll lifestyle. But I really wanted to know if you knew how impactful your work has been on the rest of the guys. Because in other interviews, especially John has been praising it like crazy. He's like, man, best year of my life. I got married. I did
Yeah,
an album. I'm with my best
yeah,
friend. T was the same thing. He's like, yeah, man,
yeah,
just working on this has been such a relief. Like,
yeah.
I love when everybody's in true appreciation, but it just seems like, I always tell people you being here always helps somebody else. But
Mm,
really, this album has really you just asking your friends, people you trust, like, hey, could you help me with this, man? I just need
yeah,
a little bit of support. And it turns out you gave them such more of a blessing
yeah,
than maybe you don't feel that way. Maybe you feel like they did more for you. But I wanted
yeah.
to know if you saw that appreciation that you bringing them on actually did for them, that the love they have for you and these interviews and these talks about the album.
Yeah, I do. I do. It's not lost on me at all. Um, I am a true believer in, you know, what I give to you, I hope is more than what you can give to me. And I don't go after stuff, like, I always feel bad asking them for, like, stuff beyond anything that would be, just like, I give them free reign to do whatever they want. When I write songs, I write them everything that I have, and I give it to them, and they can do whatever they want. They have free range. And then when they'll send their stems to me, and I'll be like, that's amazing. I could have never done that. I could have never thought of what you did there. And that's the beauty of this. This is one of the things I love the most about writing music, is just um, being able to hear what my friends who want to add to what I'm doing, and then it's ours. It's not mine. It's not, whatever. It's like, dude, listen to what we've created together. It's super cool. Um, but yeah, I do appreciate, I do hear them when they say this stuff, and I say that stuff back. Like, just this morning, I sent a text. We have a band text and a group chat, and I just sent them, like, I said that, just a humbling message that I wanted to let them know. Thank you guys so much for what you've done. To happy release day. It just means the world to me. And they send stuff back, and it's just super cool. It's a great band relationship. So happy to have it.
But you have a very fine line between, this is ours, and it's still like, well, you're still our leader, Dad. Thank you, man. I love the appreciation. I love the
Yeah,
and an understanding, because everybody also has also mentioned like, hey, we're older now, we're not as aggressive is the best word. You know, he said
Yeah.
vinegar, pissing, and all that. But I really wanted to hit this before we do anything else because this was the song. I know that the I Swoon, what a review you guys got on that.
Oh,
That
cool.
single has been killing it. 90s, shoegaze, dream pop,
Yeah.
hate. I'm like, these are some words. I know shoegaze, but past that, I was like, wait a minute, what are we talking about? But
Shoegaze. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it was the person hit it on the head with this review. It is a balance of that nostalgic element, and it's modern, it's past, it's got this
Yeah.
beautiful layer. I wanted to know why you guys picked that one to be the single, because when I listened first, I thought No Divider was
Yeah.
the greatest thing this generation popped out. I was thinking like 30 Seconds to Mars. I was thinking like, who's that? There's another duo that was really big
Yeah.
in college. They were just two guys, 21 Pilots. I was thinking like, yo, you guys move over. That has got this. So what about I Swoon was the one that you felt was the best representation to put out first? Because for that one, that one's the epic for me. That one's like you hear it at first, it's like, okay. After that 5 seconds, the build you in and you go for the journey.
I think it was probably the again, I go back to tempo. I like the tempo of it, and I like what the chorus is doing for a first sort of like, hey, here's a first glimpse of the new record. I think it's because there's these elements in it that make me remind me of some of the music I was listening to in the 90s, like My Bloody Valentine, The Cure, Sparkle Horse. And I knew some of those elements when I was writing the song. I was like, oh, I kind of want to do what they did on that song. Like I like that vocal effect so much, and this song is going to be perfect for that. So I think it kind of, and everybody kind of agreed, just like, oh, it's got a great energy to it. Like this is a good one to first open up with. Um, I like the energy of it that sort of just pushes right out with that beginning sort of like swooning, feedback, um, and then just goes right into the song. And it carries all the way through too. It doesn't really let up, which I like. And I think coming out with a first song, you really kind of want to just like have a song that doesn't really let up at all. So yeah, I don't know. That one was it.
Man, I love Interstellar immensely. And
Yeah.
part of that is the music. And I love you said tempo. That's where I was thinking that
Yep.
will build a pushing and then the little
Yeah.
nuances here and there. But the song, I'm gonna cut that part out. But tonight is ours, man.
Yeah.
I've been striving for years to outdo the date that came to my mind when I heard this song. It was that perfect every combination of a romantic comedy and disaster and year
Yeah.
of toil. That night it's something that I really want to outdo. I'm praying to God I can, but up till now, that's probably the best night. And it didn't even last that long. It was maybe 5 hours. Three for the concert, two after, and after that, it was gone. It was done, and it's like a beautiful comedy, as in like, oh, this is pretty effed up, but
Right.
it brought me back to that moment, and it's close to that feeling of that adrenaline, but not adrenaline, the spiritual yearning and longing.
Yeah.
That's as close as I ever got, and that song represented it perfect. I
That's cool.
I really want your hot take on that song as a whole, because that was the one I was just like, damn, that hits very deep.
Cool. That's cool. I love that. It's so cool to hear. Just kind of like your take on what that how the song where the song brought you to. I love that. Thanks for sharing that with me. I think what the inspiration for it was a very it was okay. All right. Let's see. If I'm being honest, I went to a beach house concert with my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, And we went to the Hollywood Bowl, and you can bring your own food, you can bring your own drinks and whatnot. And I made like this caprese salad on a plate and put some paper wrap over it, and we brought like crackers and cheese, all this stuff, and we actually had like a booth for that show too. Like we kind of just went all out, and that moment of that night and the performance, and I'm a huge Beach House fan. I will say that to the ends of the earth. That was what inspired me to go like, oh, I need to write something like that captures that moment. And that sounds that I can kind of, what can I steal from Beach House? And try to make my own version of it. And so it started out differently. The song was completely different. It was slower. It was, so I went through a couple phases of it. And then I remember just kind of sitting there with the headphones on, literally just doing one of these. And I changed the tempo by like, I think it was anywhere from 15 to 20 BPM. And I hit play and I was like, oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. And I'll do that a lot with my songs just to see if I can, if that magic, if I can make that happen again. Like, even though I'll write the song and be like, this is the tempo, this is the BPM, I'll go like, let's see what it sounds like slower. And I'll just screw around with it, give it some time. No, that's not it. And I'll speed it up and I'll go, that's not it. Or maybe it will stay, stuff like that. So the song went through a lot of iterations and it finally came to that one. And I think that song actually was the first song I had Thomas write on. I think I might have that. He might say something different. Let me see. It might have been that song. It might have been that song. And yeah, so I think I sent Thomas all the stems, and he came back with stuff, and like that to me, it like the stuff he came back with, I was like, oh man, can you do another song? And so that's how that all started. But yeah, that and then what else? Yeah, there was, it's funny because, oh, this is cool. I got it. This is good. So then John, the bass player, comes along, and this is like maybe months after Thomas and I have already wrote that. I send him the stems, and then he comes back with what you hear now on it. That's not me. None of that is me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man. Like, okay, like, can you do another one? So yeah, that song went through so many iterations. It's crazy.
What about Until We Meet Again? Because
Yeah.
that one was a little bit more interesting. That one wasn't as romantic to me, but
Yeah.
that was definitely one where it could be taken either way because very fascinating lyrics. If I when I broke it down, I'm sorry if I
Yeah. Let's see. So if we're talking lyrically, that one, it has two stories to it. It has the story of the initial story of it was really about sort of when I first met my wife, when we were just dating. She literally lived about 10 minutes from where I lived. And when she would go, it would be like, it would be like, okay, yeah, you only live 10 minutes away, but it feels like you're so like, it feels, there's a distance that I don't like. And I'm so glad that you only live 10 minutes away. Is those very beginning feelings that you have when you just want to see them constantly, constantly, constantly. And so Until We Meet Again is like something you might say, as they're leaving to try to be, I don't know, fun or, like, I don't know. We had a great sort of beginning relationship with stuff like that. And so I harkened back to me on that. And then with the theme of the record, that piece of it is the piece where a person might pass away from your life and you say until we meet again, which is that sort of other side of life. So it's got two stories to it.
When are you guys planning on? I don't want to hop away from the album, but when are you guys planning on playing together? Because something I thought fascinating was this album, nobody was in the same room. It was all back and forth. And I thought because this initially started out as a solo project, it probably worked to your benefit, being able to control a little bit more. Be like, hey, I like what you did, or not so much. But the back and forth, there's not so much as I don't want to say it incorrectly, the challenge. Somebody challenge you, like, no, there wasn't that fight. When you play live, totally different beast.
Yeah.
Oh, so what is that expectation? How are you guys going to get together? Do you guys, just because you've been friends for so long, you know each other like the back of your hand at this point, so you could just pick up and go? What is your anticipation for playing live?
Well, it's kind of a tough one because so Thomas lives in Philly, and yeah, Thomas lives in Philly, and the rest of us are out here. So we've actually acquired a new member to the group, John Pasgale. He was our engineer and mixer for for 1 to 0. So he actually played on the record too. He played on Your Faces and such. So he is going to be our guitar player for shows out here, or if it's something where we can get Thomas to fly out and it can all make sense, of course, we would all want that. But yeah, so actually tomorrow night is our post-record release dinner. I've never met John Santana, and he's never met Joe, the drummer, or me, or John Pasgale. I've never met John Pasgale before. We've just talked on phone, email, text. So tomorrow night we're all having a dinner where we actually finally will all meet at a restaurant in Pasadena. Minus Thomas, we'll FaceTime him. So yeah, so that's actually going to be really cool. The photographer who took the picture of the front cover of the record is going to be there. Our artist who did all the artwork for the record is going to be there. So just everybody that worked on our record label, guy who I've been friends with since I've been like 7. He's going to be there. So we're all kind of just coming together to meet up and just have this moment and just be like, hey, nice to finally meet you.
What song was I want to say hardest, but I don't want it to be just encompassing of creating. Sometimes there's songs that it's too close to the heart. So I wanted to know which one was the most difficult on all aspects, either because it was difficult because you had to reminisce about the past, or it was difficult because it was almost there. You almost had it, but there's just something like when Prince had to remove the bass from When Doves Cry, and he finally got it.
Goodness, that's a great question. Let's see. I would have to say, let's see. Let me think about this one. Well, I guess I didn't really have a hard time with these songs. There's not so much tragedy in it that it kept me from wanting to record or kept me from wanting to listen to it, or it's hard to listen to when I play back. I think though on the first record, on 2 is 1, What I've Lost was the song that like just purely speaks to my sobriety, like going from an alcoholic to being sober. So I think when I hear that song, it makes me go like, wow, like some of the dark places that you come from. you can be brought back to those places. Just, when you stew on it, and you can just look back and just go, oh my gosh, like, wow, where, like, I am so blessed to be able to come from that. As many others, there's others out there who've come back from really, really difficult things. So, and I think it's great, but I think they would be able to identify with that.
I always ask the most important question last. What's the
Cool.
best piece of advice you've ever been given?
My dad used to always teach me common sense. He always used to say, if it's the last thing I do, I will teach you common sense. And that's always sort of stuck with me because it's such an important thing to always harken back to whenever you're in any sort of situation. What makes the most common sense about this situation? And I tend to be a very extreme on both ends of making decisions and such. And I so often have to always harken back to that common sense. What is going to be the best outcome of this decision? And I've worked so hard at trying to always remember that particular thing that he would always say to me, because I was such a screw up as a kid. So now I can use that and sort of just always sort of hear that in the back of my head before I go with any sort of really big decision that you have to make in life, or when it comes to music, anything. It works for anything. So I'd have to say that is an advice that has always stuck with me. Sometimes I would use it, sometimes I wouldn't. But yeah, I think it would be that.
Now, if I was a dad, I'd be one proud father to hear that.
Yeah.
I cannot express how deeply beautiful this album is. I cannot express
Thanks, John.
from the artwork straight to the lyrics, straight to the actual music you're going to hear. And if we have an addiction, John has an addiction to sound. So, ladies and gentlemen, go check it out February 28th. You can even get it on vinyl. All the links are below in the YouTube video. You can check it out, but I'm begging you guys, please check out 120. It is a beautiful piece of artistry that cannot be matched, and I dare say should be rivaled by no one. Lollapalooza, Bonnaroo, Firefly, come back. Let these guys play live there. It's good, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it, man. Great stuff.
And everybody else, be smart, be mindful, rock on. As always, Ninja out.
Hey, everyone. How's it going? This is Rus from Pale Rider. Thanks for checking out the podcast and the amazing conversation that John and I just had. We just released our second LP called 120 on Coming Home Records. It's on limited pink vinyl. There's about 250 of them right now. So they're out. So do yourself a favor, click on the link, check out the record. If you like it, maybe make that purchase. You are listening to John the Ninja.
Woo, baby, you listen to John the Ninja. Oh, your ears are about to go on a vacation. John the Ninja's got what you need.